Hello, my name is Felipe Cortes. On May 13, 2009, a man shot at an LAPD officer while on break in the city of Whittier, California. There are two different accounts of the event. This document is only about the police containment at the crime scene. If I could speak to the officer that was shot at, I would ask him, did Richard Rodriguez, Alfred Rodriguez, or Tony Castro shoot at you? A lot happened on May 13, 2009. After the shooting, a containment was established. There was also a car chase in the area. It ended with Richard Rodriguez getting kicked in the head by police. By the end of the day, a man was run over by a parolee with a suspended license. The parolee hit the victim's ex-girlfriend's car earlier that day. Sergeant Gerardo Lucio caught the parolee hiding in the back of a truck.
It's not a theory. It's a 3-mile quarantine.
I'll get you on camera. This ain't the kind of history I want to make.
Look at that.
I did not know there was a legal difference between containment and quarantine. For a while now, I have referred to this as a quarantine. I knew this was a violation of the Constitution. I knew this was an interjurisdictional response. It would not hold up in a fair trial. I also understood the possibility of this being a drill. I hesitated from jumping to conclusions. I did not really know what to expect. I never thought I would be this close to so many members of police ignoring the Constitution. Whittier is a diverse city near Los Angeles. Most of us living in Whittier refer to it as a nice place to live.
Who saw what happened?
It'll be on the news, I'm sure.
Everyone has rights. We're still Americans, right?
Yeah.
We still have a Constitution? Right? I can speak to about this now or after? Gentlemen, is there anyone that I can speak to? Anyone that would know what's happening? Sir? Who would I be able to speak to? Say after this is happening.
Why?
Because I think the people of Whittier have a right to know. And
Not right now.
They don't have a right to know?
Not right now.
Well, who would I contact?
Go over there to the back where you were. Remember you were talking to that one sheriff? Just zoom in and see what you got, because I want to see what's on the ground.
Let's go.
They put a little piece of cardboard. I think it's a shell casing. See over there at the crosswalk? That piece of cardboard sticking up?
Cardboard.
You'll be able to pick up the brilliance of it. It's shiny.
I know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to shoot here.
So you just move to
He's
the other
standing
side,
there
you
for a
might get
reason.
Different angle. They already picked it up. There was something shiny on the ground. He's in charge of the whole party.
He's in charge of the whole party? It looks like it.
But you know, I'm seeing guys running around here like they're extras from Desert Storm. The fatigues that these guys are wearing and the hardware that they're running with. I mean, these guys are heavy duty.
That's no joke. These guys are not here to play around. That much I know.
We came from about 3 blocks down the street, and we were surprised that the response was all unmarked cars initially.
Uh-huh.
and there was no police, and the police that were around weren't reacting in the fashion that these guys were. So I don't know, it just felt like a different brand of crime.
Have you seen what's written on the helicopter over there?
That's an LA County LAPD helicopter, that one, and the green and yellow one is the sheriff. Right now, there's no sheriff. It's just LAPD.
What's that big thing over there?
Starbucks.
How you doing, gentlemen? Can I get a moment with you, gentlemen? Do you mind if I shoot?
No, that's fine. I'm just trying to figure out a problem first.
Yeah, so am I.
No. This.
Oh, you've seen a lot more than I have, and a lot more than any of us have, sir. And I trust your opinion because I'm sure you know a lot more than we do. What do you see here?
Well, from what I understand, there was a situation at this Carlos Jr. and you have different agencies. The first started with LAPD, and because it happened with LAPD, that's why you saw the LAPD chopper up there. And then now it's Pico's area, so that's why you have all the Pico deputies out here. And then,
so this is, for in fact, interjurisdictional.
what?
This is, for in fact, interjurisdictional?
Well, it is because it involved an LAPD officer. And so the way that the law writes is, you know, you're a peace officer in the state, in the county, in the country. And so if it happens to you, then it happens to everyone.
Actually, if you are a police officer, your duty is to uphold and defend the Constitution. Although police training provides little education in the history of policing, upon swearing the oath to the Constitution, you should read it and understand it. It is the only document in the world that guarantees freedom from government. The Constitution includes the Posse Comitatus Act of 1878. This act recognizes the separation between military and police. It is a recognition that all power has jurisdiction. I understand that the Constitution can be ratified. It is not a grocery list to be arbitrarily altered on a whim. If you are going to put something in or pull something out through legislation, be able to discuss the parts relating to what you are planning to change. Everyone else is free to talk about it like a grocery list. The right of free speech should always be protected. The right to document free speech should also be protected.
Sir, can I get 1 minute with you?
Hey, dude, come here.
Sir, I just want to know what's going on.
There was a shooting.
There was a shooting. Anybody involved? Was it at a person or at an object, a building, a car? Was it a fatal shooting, a near miss, a near hit? Sir, is there anything you can say about what's going on? Is this interjurisdictional?
I have no idea.
There's a military personnel over there across the street. Across the street there's a soldier, some kind of soldier. Is that protocol? This ain't the kind of history I want to make. This is still America. We shouldn't get used to this. Sir, can I get a second of your time? Sir, can I get a moment of your time? Sir, can I get a moment of your time, please?
Not right now.
When, sir? I'll be here all day. Today, I'll be here today. I'll wait for you. Sir, are we still under DEFCON 5 or is that over? Did that pass?
Friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen, based on assessment of all available information and following several expert consultations, I have decided to raise the current level of influenza pandemic alert from phase 4 to phase 5. Preparedness measures undertaken because of the threat from H5N1 avian influenza were an investment, and we are now benefiting from this investment. At this stage, effective and essential measures include heightened surveillance, early detection and treatment of cases, and infection control in all health facilities. This change to a higher phase of alert is a signal to governments, to ministries of health and other ministries, to the pharmaceutical industry and the business community that certain actions now should be undertaken with increased urgency and at an accelerated pace. I have reached out to donor countries, to UNITAID, to the Gavi Alliance, the World Bank, and others to mobilize resources. No matter what the situation is, the international community should treat this as a window of opportunity to ramp up preparedness and response.
Swine flu continues to dominate the headlines tonight, and we begin with some major developments. The World Health Organization has just raised its alert level to 5, meaning the virus is spreading human to human in at least 2 countries in 1 region of the world. This is just 1 level away from declaring a global epidemic.
Here in the U.S., at least 10 states now have confirmed cases of the new flu strain, but there are far more suspected cases. At a training base in California, 30 Marines are quarantined. At the University of Delaware, 4 have fallen ill.
There are new concerns tonight that commerce at our nation's borders may be taking priority for some over public health and public safety.
They have not recommended a border closing. From their perspective, it would be akin to closing the barn door after the horses are out, because we already have cases here in the United States.
If the swine flu had been a real threat to national security, the borders should have been closed. The threat level was raised as a test. They wanted to scare governments into surrendering to the World Health Organization. The U.S. did not surrender to the pandemic threat. This document, however, proves that the police were ready to quarantine or contain any given area. The flu virus of 2009 was engineered. To quote the AFP article, their goal was to understand how a highly lethal strain of flu, which spreads among birds but is hard to transmit to mammals, could mutate into a variant that is contagious among humans. The article further explains the purpose for engineering the virus. This information could be used by an aggressor and shows one of the building blocks for the development of a potential biowarfare weapon. Actually, it is an engineered weapon.
Hear any gunshots or anything?
I got here, well, pretty much late after everyone else here. Everyone else is here a lot before me. And I got here just to see what's going on, and no one's, I'm not going to say no one.
Oh, sure.
A lot of people are not feeling free to talk about it. And that's fine. I'm going to respect every one of their rights. So I'm saying what you're saying, and
So you live nearby, right?
Yeah.
Did they close off your street?
No.
Okay. Have you guys had this kind of police response here before?
I have not been made aware of anything like this before. I have been noticing that the helicopters have been flying really low for quite a while now. I just couldn't figure out why. And I came out today because I just couldn't ignore it. Like, it's been happening too much. And I'm wondering, has this been happening that often? And nobody's saying yes, but nobody's saying no.
Wait a minute, so you've had police here before?
I am not saying that. I'm saying I don't know why the helicopters were flying low. That's what I'm saying.
I see. So is that what brought you out here?
Originally, yes. I wouldn't be here without the helicopters. I'm sure I would have seen. I'm sure I would have heard the police though.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you know.
So you were curious to see the chopper flying low and why they were here, kind of thing?
Well, when I stepped outside my house, I saw a huge crowd, and I talked to a couple of neighbors, and I couldn't ignore this.
Oh, sure.
Let me just leave it at that.
Well, to tell you what I know, basically, apparently the cops some LAPD cops had gone to the Carl's Jr. to eat or something, and apparently there may have been a suspected gang member who shot at their car, and then he took off, and that's why their containment is going around. So,
in your professional opinion, do you think this kind of response is justified?
I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm asking people. I mean, you live here. Have you seen this kind of response before?
With what you just told me, I think that's a bit much. There's gentlemen over there across the street that are in full tactical gear. And I'm not sure where they're from. Are they sheriff? Are they LAPD? Are they SWAT? Are they military?
The people that responded here, sheriffs, and then there's Whittier PD, which is nearby. There's the highway patrol. I don't know, I think LAPD is here too.
Have you seen them?
Which one?
They're right over here. I just see a bunch of men in green.
Yeah, that would be a SWAT team.
That's SWAT team?
That's SWAT team. I don't know which unit, which police department they're from here.
So this is for sure interjurisdictional, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I left, they were calling in the other units.
Okay. Would you know how many jurisdictions are?
I didn't. All I know right now is like Whittier. You can see CHP, Whittier sheriffs. I'm not sure if LAPD also is helping out. This is one of them. I'm sorry. What's your name, dude?
My name is Felipe Cortes.
Felipe. Is it F-E or P-H?
F-E-L-I.
And Cortes, like the conqueror?
Like I live down the street.
So C-O-R-T-E-Z?
S.
S. Unusual.
What is unusual is how quickly police disregarded jurisdiction. I understand the right of any person to take a break and have a nice lunch. No one in America should have to worry about being the target of a shooting. We should all have the honor and dignity to discuss our disagreements like human beings. Most people there did not agree with this military response to a felony crime. As important as it is for everyone to remember that we should not shoot at innocent people, we should also remember that innocent people have the right to not be contained. Having laws that allow a military containment for ordinary crimes lets criminals think too much of themselves. When they actually get away, they prove how slow this response really is. I know police hate to admit it, but sometimes they do get away.
What car? What car got
in the parking lot? It's probably shot at.
They shot at the car.
Wow.
No, right here. I see glass right here.
Yeah, they're shooting them right there.
Okay.
Supposedly the story is the cops
cops were at the Corona facility. That's what he got. And they followed. They followed the cops.
Right. That's my daughter said there was a chase from Corona.
No car chase. The cops were at the training facility.
Right. But they followed them.
They followed the cops here. Started shooting.
Was it automatic? There's a lot of shells on there. Well, if it's automatic, it's probably not American. Yeah, but I'll tell you that.
You're watching a pursuit underway at this very moment in the South El Monte area. This is Tony Valdez in the Fox Newsroom. We're going to give you a word-by-word look at the pursuit that's underway. The car is a silver-colored car, maybe a white-colored car. We are given to understand that there are 3 people inside. In the Baldwin Park area, this car allegedly refused to pull over for what's characterized as a routine traffic stop.
There were a few car chases in the greater Los Angeles area that day. The one in Corona involved Jasper Stallings. In June of 2011, he pleaded no contest to murder, kidnapping, and second-degree robbery, among other things. The footage we see here is the El Monte pursuit. It was close to the shooting in Whittier. People told me what was on TV. I was only aware of word on the street. The police did not care to clarify. The men involved in the El Monte pursuit have not been linked to the shooting in Whittier.
We have got on the telephone Lieutenant Carlson, Chuck Carlson from the El Monte Police Department. Afternoon, sir. Can you tell us what's going on?
Hi. Yeah.
We're on the air, sir. Can you tell us what's going on?
Yeah, we're just attempting to stop the vehicle for initially for traffic violations, and then when they threw something out on the freeway, we haven't retrieved whatever it was thrown, so there may be additional items that we're looking for.
Yeah. The initial probable cause to make the stop here, sir?
I'm sorry?
The original reason for...
It was a traffic violation. The officer initially just called out traffic and then activated his overhead lights, and then as soon as that happened, he said they're splitting from him, and he accelerated to in excess of 80 miles an hour north down on Dirt from Valley.
And where in your city was that the initial stop attempted?
The officer didn't tell us what the initial traffic violation was. We don't call that out when we pull a traffic.
We were wondering where. We were wondering where he was in El Monte.
I'm sorry.
Was he on Valley Boulevard or one of those streets?
Reception here.
Was he on Valley Boulevard or one of your other main streets in El Monte?
I'm sorry, I can't understand, sir. It's very garbled.
All right, they threw something out of their car. They were on the freeway.
Yes, after it was stopped in heavy traffic and one passenger bailed out, the air unit said that they threw something out on the on-ramp as they were getting onto the freeway, but we haven't found out what that is yet.
Now, do you have a monitor there? We're seeing the car on a sidewalk trying to get away. Well,
I'm sorry. You're very, very garbled, sir.
All right. Why don't we let you get back to work, and we'll see if we can improve the connection.
Car chases have been used for years. Police cross jurisdictions regularly in Los Angeles. Many know that some criminals get away. The number of car chases has increased. Public servants should not encourage car chases. Neither should the media.
This is certainly a situation where law enforcement officers have got the advantage in the sense that they can trade out cars, they can trade out officers. Gasoline is not an issue for them, but of course the car that they are pursuing, no idea how much gasoline was in that car. So he's zigzagging here now. He's going to take an off-ramp here, and that off-ramp will be, it's hard to tell, let's see where we're at here.
This is at the border of the Whittier Boulevard 3-mile containment.
Southbound. He's just taken an off-ramp, headed westbound on from the 605 San Gabriel Freeway. You can see the cars pulling over now. Look at this. He's going across the center median, running into toward oncoming traffic, although we haven't seen any here. So basically a lucky move. He's still on the opposite side of the center median. This looks as though it could be Slauson Avenue. very nearly escaping a head-on collision. Fishtailing. He's just hit a parked car facing the opposite direction. There goes your driver. He's going to rabbit, as police will say. He's going to run, but you've got plenty of officers there. There's a second suspect who would be in the passenger seat, and of course we're following this one who's running. We're going to keep an eye on them as well as law enforcement helicopters, so there's not much chance of him getting away. Up over a fence. No, didn't make it up over the fence. Looks like he may have hit himself and just giving up. There are the officers. He's in that. Oh. A kick to the head. A kick to the head. A kick to the head by that one officer. Now we see another one coming up. And we see them both. He had obviously thrown himself on the ground. He had spread himself out. He was waiting for police to take him into custody, but as you saw, the first officer came, clearly kicked him in the head. You have another officer who came up, gave him several kidney blows with appeared to be his baton. And this all for a suspect who, from what we could see here, from what we were showing you, was there, compliant, ready to surrender and handcuff himself. There's one of the officers patting the other on the back. But again, this is an individual who ran. Don't know if he just wasn't able to get over that wall or if he just decided to give up. But he had already placed himself face down on the ground, extended his legs, extended his arms. But you saw that first police officer there coming up, kicking him. There's no mistaking that he kicked him squarely in the head.
As many gun laws as we have in California, none of them prevented this crime. It is a statistical fact that gun laws do not prevent crimes involving shootings. What if everyone was allowed to carry a gun? Would someone else have stepped in to defend the officer?
Just as well armed, just as well funded. Does that mean I get a tank? Can I get one in green? Bright day glow green.
More than likely, people would have been safer in a lot less time.
How are you doing?
Have you guys been here the whole time? Do you see anything?
I got here a little late.
You don't know. Have you heard anybody know what's going on?
There's that reporter from Whittier Daily News knows a lot more than we do.
Where's that?
I'll go get to her. Are you with
I'm with the news. Channel 2 and Channel 9.
Channel 2 and Channel 9. Can I get your name?
Are you videotaping me? No.
Okay, fair enough. Right there.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mia Lee. It's 3 o'clock, and you are looking live at the scene of breaking news at a Carl's Jr. There's a SWAT situation going on. It started with a robbery, and there are reports shots have been fired inside. Let's get right to KCAL9's Christine Lazar live there on the scene. Christine?
Mia, police are not saying a lot right now. What we do know from them is that one of their officers was shot at while he was eating lunch at the Carl's Jr. here in Whittier. And now they are on the search for that suspect. They are going door to door. And this has been going on for several hours now. They have about a 2-mile perimeter roped off here. And we've watched both sheriff's deputies and LAPD go door to door looking for this suspect. I'll step out of the way here and you might be able to just see the magnitude of this operation. We have seen literally dozens of patrol cars. You have sheriff here, you have LAPD, we've seen the armored vehicles, we've seen the SWAT team, there's a dog there, a K9 unit, so they have helicopters in the air as well, so this is a massive operation. And as far as we know, that suspect, who witnesses are saying opened fire on a police officer who was off duty eating his lunch in his car, has not been found. So we are here live in Whittier, and I'll toss it back to you guys in the studio.
Actually, Ruby Gonzalez of the Whittier Daily News said it was a 3-mile containment. I believe her. The two different accounts of the shooting may stem from the fact that the witness was more interested in getting food before the incident and making it out alive after the gunfire. What surprised me was how many of the reporters were eager to encourage the crossing of jurisdictions. I understand that reporters encounter local criminals all over the city. So does everyone else. Innocent people have the right to not be contained. Due process is a right.
A few people spoke to the police about the shooting. I left them out of this document. A police officer phrased derogatory terms about the mother of one of the people that left the statement. That was wrong.
Is this an interjurisdictional? Sir?
The sheriff's PIO is going to come on. They're going to handle it.
Sheriff's PIO is going to do it?
Yeah.
But you're much more photogenic.
They have somebody coming out, but just kidding. Because they just asked if our PIO or LAPD was going to do it.
Yeah.
What was your man doing? I don't know. Oh, come on. Excellent.
You mean at the gold car?
Gold car.
Yeah. They had a number on it earlier.
Yeah, you mean on the dashboard like an evidence marker?
How you doing? In your professional experience, do you think this is too much?
Too much? For a shooting?
For what you know?
It's bordering.
Okay. That's fair. Thank you.
You never know. The guy might be in the basement of the building.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't.
Where are you at?
I live down the street, so I'm with my family and my friends and everyone on my block.
A wild convergence of things. You got a pursuit end over on that side of the 605, and then this thing here. So you got cops all over the place. Whittier Boulevard's no place to drive.
I'm just, wondering if when did police started looking like this?
Different crime scene.
I don't know. I got here like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Right about 3 o'clock.
I mean, I've never seen police like that on Whittier Boulevard.
Yeah,
and that's just true. And I've lived here my whole life.
Somebody takes a shot at a cop, and things happen.
Is liberty too high a price to pay for safety? Who said something about that? I thought this was still America.
So what's going on? Have they found a guy?
Should be doing the stand-up.
Yeah.
She'll tell you what. Judy, the guy's in the neighborhood. Want to do it at lunch?
Yeah, we're gonna
either or.
What?
Sir, can I get a moment?
Yeah, what do you need?
Yeah, can I get your name?
Oh, it's Pena, Sergeant.
Sergeant Pena, what department are you with, sir?
LASD, what's this for?
I live down the street.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just, I'm seeing all this going on, and I'm wondering, is this all interjurisdictional?
Yeah, it sure is. It's Whittier, it's LASD, it's LAPD.
Who's actually in charge of the operation?
The Sheriff's Department.
Sheriff's Department, that'd be PICO?
Well, no, it's SWAT. It's Special Enforcement Bureau. Because we have the dogs and the Special Weapons team.
Who would I contact?
Well, us, if you want any.
Okay, but it's under
Special Enforcement Bureau.
Special Enforcement Bureau.
Yes.
Is that new?
No, not at all. Hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure I got her back.
We are in West Whittier on Whittier Boulevard. Jay, a sheriff's helicopter continues to circle overhead. There are K-9 dog units going through the neighborhood along with SWAT team members looking for a suspect who allegedly fired a shot at an on-duty LAPD officer in Whittier here late this morning. According to what the officer told sheriff's detectives, he was sitting at an intersection in his car, which looks like an LAPD detective car, when a man walking by on the sidewalk slowly drew a gun out of his pocket. The officer ducked down in the seat. The suspect fired a shot and then ran away. There's a witness who tells a somewhat different story, that the officer was parked in his car in the Carl's Jr. parking lot eating lunch when the suspect walked up on him and fired the shot. Whatever happened after that, the officer was not hit. He did not return fire, and the suspect ran off into the neighborhood. That was at 11:30 this morning, and ever since then, police have been going through a neighborhood just to the north here, north of Whittier Boulevard, looking for the suspect. They haven't found him as yet, Whittier Boulevard, just to the east of the 605, a busy street any time of day, is really blocked now and tying up traffic as the manhunt continued for this suspect who fired a shot and missed at an on-duty LAPD officer here in Whittier this morning.
He made eye contact with a possible gang member who was crossing the street coming in his direction. The suspect was about 15 feet away when the officer saw the suspect reach in his waistband and pull out a gun. The suspect pointed the gun at the officer. Fearing for his safety, the officer ducked down in his vehicle, and suspect fired one round at the officer's vehicle, striking it in the driver's side window and shattering it. At that time, the officer sat up, and he saw the suspect was running northbound and out of view, fleeing the area.
And so that's what's going on right now, a huge manhunt. Police agencies here, Whittier PD and the sheriffs and LAPD have something like 10 dogs, 10 canine units out searching. There's a brushy area with some trees in it. The dogs were going through there. So far, no one under arrest. Again, the officer not hit, shot at as he sat here either in the parking lot, as one witness said, or stopped at an intersection right here, as the officer said.
There's a lot of frustration out here. There's so many resources that have been spent to try to find this armed suspect, but nothing has turned up. Now, let me show you across the street here. The shattered glass on the ground, bear with us, there's some traffic now. They've reopened the road, but that's where we're told the unmarked car, the LAPD officer's unmarked car, was when the suspect fired at him. Whittier Boulevard, just east of the 605 freeway, is where LA County Sheriffs, LAPD, and Whittier Police are hunting down an armed suspect.
This morning, between 11:30 and 11:45 hours, there was an on-duty LAPD officer. He was waiting at the light.
According to LA County Sheriffs, the on-duty LAPD officer made eye contact with a possible gang suspect.
The suspect was about 15 feet away when the officer saw the suspect reach in his waistband and pull out a gun. The suspect pointed the gun at the officer.
Investigators say the suspect fired at the driver's window of this Crown Victoria. SWAT officers have surrounded the area. About 10 police dogs have been searching every corner. A patrol unit still in the area. Even though the perimeter's been shut down, let me tell you, there are still a number of units in the area searching for the suspect. He is considered to be armed and dangerous. And I just spoke with Deputy Peck, and she tells me that it appears now that LAPD officer on duty was in the area for training, but no more details as to why, what kind of training, or what division he belongs to. And let me say this, Emmett, a lot of families out here very inconvenienced all day trying to get into their homes, but of course, until now, probably about half an hour ago, they're able to go through this area.
There's a shooting. There's an attempted robbery. Police officers came into the place, and I guess there was a shootout with the bad guys, and they're looking for one of the guys, I guess.
Bad guys?
Yeah.
That means more than one?
I guess so. That's what I'm saying.
Any descriptions?
I think you should talk to the PD.
Who are you? You're with the press?
Yes, I am.
What?
KMEX TV, Channel 34. Go.
Because everything before said we only had one suspect.
Well, I'm just getting the information on the wire, so...
On the wire?
Yeah. Anyway, keep going. It appears that it was not a robbery. It was, I guess, they made eye contact at the intersection. And the officer, I guess, when he looked at the suspect produced the weapon and started firing at the guy, so that's what it appears to.
In your experience, do you think this is too much? Your professional experience?
Too much what?
Of a reaction?
Well, anytime you try to kill a police officer, you're going to have this kind of response. This is not unusual. It's pretty normal.
Interjurisdiction is normal?
Well, the guy's an LAPD officer, so you need LAPD.
Any news on why he was in Whittier?
I have no idea. I mean, cops can go anywhere as they please. I mean, if
I'm not restricting any rights.
No. I'm just giving you. You're asking for my opinion. I'm just telling you. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why he was here. They haven't told us that. But they're saying that he was in the area.
Hello.
Yes.
Actually, if you want to call the station or call SHB, you can do that, and we'll get some.
Yeah, but I mean, is it really practical for me to go all the way to Monterey Park when the crime scene is here?
I understand that, but I can't.
Can I take it in English, please? I'm sorry?
We just did it in English. You want to redo it?
Yes.
Okay, I'll ask my sergeant because we have to leave. If not, then...
Well, if you can assign somebody else. I mean, it just seems impractical that I have to go all the way to Monterey Park.
No, I said you could call.
I'm going anyway.
It's the same thing. you know.
Well, I'll ask him rather, but if not, it's up to him.
When did Monterey Park take jurisdiction about this? When did that happen?
I ended up not doing the follow-up on the jurisdictions. I might eventually do the follow-up, but not right now. The confession was clearly recorded.
Regresamos ahora, amigos. Ustedes pueden apreciar el centro de comando que tienen las autoridades muy cercano a la autopista 605 y el Boulevard Whittier, que todavía continúa comprometido. Se les está recordando a los residentes de esta zona que si se llegan a encontrar a este individuo o notan alguna actividad sospechosa en el interior o afuera de sus propiedades, notificar a las autoridades. Transmitiéndoles en vivo desde la ciudad de Whittier, yo soy Osvaldo Borraes, Noticias, División 34.
A 23-year-old Richard Rodriguez led police on a chaotic chase through El Monte and Whittier, going 80 in a 30-mile-per-hour zone, at times driving the wrong way and crashing into an oncoming car before bailing out on foot. The two big red marks on his head and face are tattoos of a woman's lips. The mark under his right eye, an injury suffered during the arrest. Rodriguez was a parolee at large and a known gang member from El Monte. Also in custody are 22-year-old Alfred Rodriguez, also a parolee and known gang member, and 29-year-old Tony Castro, who got out of the car when it was stopped in traffic. Now, during the pursuit, El Monte police received information that the suspects may have been involved in a shooting earlier in the day. The case has now been handed over to Internal Affairs, and if it's found that the officer or officers did something wrong, they will be disciplined. Live in El Monte tonight, Lena Wynn, KCAL 9 News.
The shooting left evidence of glass and shells on the floor. From the angle I had, the glass and the shells were difficult to video record. I remember two different areas with shattered glass. I also remember seeing a shell marker on the floor. The most visible area with shattered glass is seen in this KTLA footage. It was only a few feet away from where the shell marker was. The officer was turning left at the time. It is likely that the suspect ran up the street after the shooting. A lot of people saw the glass and the shell marker. There was more shattered glass on the other side of the restaurant. There are no other vehicles in question concerning the shooting. The driver's side window was shattered here. The description of a suspect offered to me was that of a dark man in a dark shirt. As of yet, no one has been charged with the shooting. No press reports have linked the men in the El Monte pursuit.
These guys are not here to play around, that much I know.
This response was so enormous that early on, people were expecting to discover a crime of historic proportions, or a clear overreaction. Desert Storm comparisons were made. There was enough shattered glass to lead a few people to believe that it was a fully automatic weapon.
A different brand of crime.
Automatic? There's a lot of shells on there. Oh, if it's automatic, it's probably not American. Yeah, but I'll tell you that.
In my experience, these kinds of statements are made to raise the level of fear. Fear provides more excuses to expand the already too big invasive police state.
Behind me, we just had a situation occur. Don't think it is related. We actually had an accident where a man was trying to grab onto a car, slipped underneath of that car, and was run over.
And we're following up on our breaking news in Whittier tonight, where a man was run over by a van just seconds before our reporter Glenn Walker went on the air.
Our cameras caught it all on tape. KCAL 9's Glenn Walker back with us now live in Whittier with the exclusive and new information. Glenn?
Yeah, Rick and Pat, this happening just before 8 o'clock tonight. We were here doing a report about an officer that was shot at earlier today by an alleged gang member when this all happened. Let's go right to the videotape and show you what happened. We heard a horn honking and we turned around and looked, and there was a white van here at the intersection at the red light getting ready to make a turn, and a woman in a car behind him honking. A man ran up the sidewalk. Our view was blocked for a second. He was trying to get into the passenger side door of the van as it turned onto Lockheed Avenue, and as he struggled to get in the van, he slipped from that van, fell underneath, and that van ran him over. Well, it turns out, from what we understand, the van had hit the car of the woman that was honking. That was her boyfriend that was trying to chase the van down and get inside to stop the driver, and she actually chased that van down and cut him off, the suspect then running away from the scene, but he was soon apprehended by police. Again, a lot of law enforcement in this Whittier area today because that officer was shot at earlier today.
Now, the victim of the hit and run has been taken to a nearby hospital. The driver of the van is now in custody. In Whittier tonight, Melissa McCarty, KCAL 9 News.
The officer involved in this kick incident is 17-year veteran George Fierro, an officer who sees himself as assertive and confident, but not a thug or bully. A lead detective from another agency says Fierro was a helpful part of Operation Joker's Wild, a federal task force that 18 months ago locked up dozens of Florencia 13 gang members with ties to the Mexican mafia. The same detective describes Fierro as a great gang cop and a sharp guy, and this lawsuit, filed on behalf of Fierro against El Monte PD, claims he's been denied promotion 8 times because he's been a whistleblower. He reported another officer for discharging her gun outside a San Gabriel Valley bar, and another for coercing a drug suspect to sign a consent to search form. Mike McGill is Fierro's attorney in that suit.
He's a productive officer, he's a hardworking officer, and I think he fits the mold of what it takes to be successful.
Fierro on the web sells a clothing line called Torcido, slang for arrested or imprisoned, advertised as authentic jailhouse threads for the streets. One t-shirt reads, LA County Jail, a place Fierro could possibly end up if the district attorney decides that this kick is excessive force, prosecutes, and gets a conviction.
Fierro was not charged. His company name has another context. The word literally means twisted. Little is known about the gunman. There is no telling if anything could have prevented this crime. The gunman was said to have fired shots after making eye contact. There is no negotiating with a person willing to kill because of eye contact. If the law would recognize the right of every person to openly carry a firearm, any good Samaritan would be faster than having to wait for a full-scale containment. Criminals will always have guns. What might aid in deterring crime is if every other person was carrying a gun. States with open carry laws tend to have less violent criminals. There are a few things that can be done about car chases. A popular idea is the spike strip or tire deflation device. Another good idea was demonstrated by the woman whose car was hit by the parolee in the van. She hit the parolee's van, and he wound up on foot. The parolee was arrested shortly after. No police pursuit was needed.
Yeah, they probably took your stuff.
What's the owner being charged with? Health?
I have no idea.
So of every single police officer here, nobody knows anything?
This is an FDA investigation? Yes. The FDA is taking our mangoes. There you go. Crack, crystal meth, and mangoes.
Not raw milk. And organic food. Organic food
Crack,
in America is criminal.
heroin, and watermelon.
It's crime.
Oh, no, yeah, our government will import...
That's definitely the meat. Yeah, they're loading all the meat up into the truck right now. It's all a bunch of raw, organic, grass-fed meat. Where are they going to take it? What are they going to do with it? The worst part is that those guys loading it up probably don't even know what they're doing. They would love to eat some meat like that.
Oh, the co-op.
They're leaving product out in the sun?
They're leaving product out in the sun. They've had our walk-in cooler open for hours.
So that food is contaminated?
So our food
heat
is
damage?
technically contaminated by heat damage because it's been since 7:15. What time is it now? It's 12:42. And this is all raw dairy. It needs to be constantly cooled.
So
we have signs posted everywhere inside Rossum stating this.
And if if any of this food is sent to us for a lab test, would you trust that lab test?
Not at all. I wouldn't trust it because the food has been sitting out for hours.
I've been here for a little while.
In the sun. In the sun.
Someone said I'm on a Daily Press, by the way. Okay, cool.
Walk into Ralph's, it's like dead. This is real life food. Thanks for destroying real life food. Can you guys go up on I guess I'll have to go by.
You know that food's been in the sun.
Can you go on the sidewalk?
You can't test that food. It's been in the sun. It's ruined.
Yeah, did you guys leave it in the sun so that when you test it, it'll test bad?
That's what happened last
time. You left
time.
it in the sun so that you guys can say it was bad when it was in a cooler before?
Please, on the sidewalk. On the sidewalk.
Was it legal for you guys to disconnect their surveillance system in their own place?
On the sidewalk, please. On the sidewalk. Let's back up, folks. Let's back up. On the sidewalk, please. On the sidewalk. Get on the sidewalk.
The unmarked guy?
On the sidewalk.
The unmarked guy in a t-shirt? You're the FDA?
On the sidewalk.
Your payroll?
Let's go.
Oh, there goes the contraband.
Coconut oil! Coconut oil! Coconut oil!
There goes the threat to society. The milk.
Does Monsanto make your paycheck out to you directly?
Walk in there, please.
Thank you.
Oh my God, we can't even be on the street.
Asking you nicely.
Thank you. Sir.
Arrest him. I want to get it on film. Go for it.
Why isn't your van marked FDA?
Is that food contaminated by leaving it in the sun for hours since 7:15? We have it on footage.
All of our food has been spoiled. All of our raw food, contaminated, spoiled, rotten. All these people spoiled all of our food. All of our good, healthy food that keeps us alive.
And he kicked this whole thing in his thing. We got a whole fleet of government workers out here.
So they use our taxpayer dollars to make you guys come out so that the papaya and the coconut oil and the milk is safe from us.
I mean, this is a raw food club.
Yeah,
I love that my tax dollars are going towards this.
If you don't want to be in it, then don't.
I'd rather you guys be dealing with the stolen bikes and my stolen iPhone rather than the coconut.
The FDA, FBI, and LAPD conducted a violation of their 4th, 5th, and 9th Amendment constitutional rights. The owners were set up to seem as if they were selling spoiled, rotten food. It is wrong and immoral to violate other people's rights. Food is not even supposed to be taxed. This was a setup. This was an interjurisdictional setup.
When we watch a car chase on television, a lot of things about the driver can be discovered. Drivers leading a car chase usually have a long history of criminal activity and/or substance abuse. Often the driver returns to a familiar place. When the car is no longer operational, the driver takes off on foot. The driver always believes that the police can be outrun. No matter how many car chase endings the driver has seen on television or the internet. If the FDA had intended on conducting a fair analysis of the samples, they would have left the private surveillance at the Rossum property as they found it. Refrigerated trucks would have been used to transport the samples to the testing facility. If the FDA was planning on conducting a fair test, FBI and LAPD presence would not have been necessary. The FDA would have been happy to answer questions. The owners would not have been treated like terrorists. If the FDA wanted a fair test, a third party would have done the testing. Buying, selling, producing, and/or consuming raw foods is not an act of terrorism. If you subscribe to any part of the evolution theory, then you know that humanity has consumed raw foods for a long time. Having refrigerators keeps that food healthy, a lot longer than leaving it out in the sun for hours before the FDA shows up to confirm that it needs to be transported in ordinary vehicles and tested at a facility miles away.
We are the 99%. We are the 99%. We are peaceful. We are peaceful. We are peaceful.
Get back. Leave the area. Leave the area.
All right, right now we're in front of the encampment, in front of City Hall.
Leave the area.
You can see cops have occupied this park right now. They have went inside the encampment. They are pushing.
Here, an officer shoves the reporter, and she has a huge camera and light in front of her.
They are pushing people away. Right now they're asking protesters to leave this area, at times pushing some of the protesters. The protesters are chanting back saying they are peaceful. Obviously this is a very volatile situation.
Hey, you have to know, this is a non-violent movement. Any acts of violence are being pursued by the LAPD. Occupy Los Angeles is a non-violent and peaceful movement. Any acts of violence do not represent Occupy LA.
Are you ready to get arrested for this cause?
If necessary, yes. Hopefully not.
Why don't you obey their order and move out of the camp?
Because it is our constitutional right to gather here. It is in the Constitution that you have the right to peacefully assemble and protest. It's in the Declaration of Independence, where if any government no longer serves the welfare of the people, we can alter and abolish it. We've lost full faith in this government.
What's your name?
My name is Guido.
Tear gas is coming!
The cops have just taken over this park right now, telling protesters to leave this area. Protesters are answering in response, saying we are peaceful, but they do not want to leave.
No Tiananmen Square in America. No violence. How many times has America spoken out on violence to other countries? How many times? History points the finger back if we're attacked.
The only purpose government has is to defend rights. Free speech is a right. Here we see LAPD illegally break up a non-violent protest. Legislators believe that somehow if they declare free speech a crime, that people will surrender free speech. Legislators are out of touch.
Most people agree that a military containment is excessive for a felony crime. This attempt to criminalize free speech is vulgar. Expanding government when production of industrialized goods is at its lowest is a bad idea. Perhaps if we all voted accordingly, legislators would figure it out.
Yeah, we were trying to talk to one of the officers, but they're not allowed to talk to us right now. They're just standing ground. We're talking to, what's your name, sir?
Tony Velosa.
Tony, you've been here since Occupy LA started?
Yes.
What do you make of this? I mean, you've got a lot of officers here.
What I see right here is an infringement on First Amendment rights. And furthermore, I believe it's insulting for me as a veteran to go overseas advocating, free speech, all these wonderful freedoms that we enforce on other cultures twice as old as ours, only to come back and to see it overran by corporate interests. I see, like I said before, I got cartel members, I got human traffickers that live in my neighborhood, yet they send the police to come out here and stomp down on First Amendment rights and individuals protesting. There's obviously something wrong, otherwise millions of people wouldn't show up to various cities around the world in such short time.
So what are you willing to do? They're asking you to leave. They're asking you to leave peacefully. They don't want to cause any problem. They want this to end peacefully.
In my mind, honestly, a camping ordinance does not supersede the Constitution under any circumstance. So I believe I'm willing to stay here and occupy peacefully, but like I said, they have their own jobs they got to enforce. So what it is two sides clashing, and I'm not ready to give up so easily on my rights because it's a slippery slope. If we could see this today, what's next? What else are they going to ask for?
So how much time do you need? I mean, because some folks who are watching this are probably thinking, well, how much time? You guys have been here for a long time.
Define long time. Long time is 2 months. You know what I'm saying? Any major social change did not occur in 2 months. Like I said, so, you got the civil rights, you got the gay rights, you got Magna Carta. That stuff didn't happen overnight. The fact we have millions of people in 2 months, no movement has ever matched that type of momentum. So for the naysayers to say like, oh, what do you guys stand for? Why don't you come on down? Like, you know where we're at. Come talk to us. Do your research. Go serve in war. When I was over there, I sent to guard more oil fields than people. That says something. And now these same companies that I defended, they're here infringing my right to pursue happiness at home. It's not right. I feel that's wrong. They overstepped their bounds.
What is it that you want? What do you stand for?
I stand for many things. Like, honestly, I could go on and on, but I'll limit down to 2 things. One, and the Federal Reserve. Because half of our monetary problems and social problems stem from private bankers printing money without any limit. And 2, veterans' rights. Because it's an old fact that 1 out of every 4 homeless person in America is a veteran. I say that's wrong. These are the same people that we use to defend our country for good or for better or worse, and then yet they come back and they're homeless. So those are the 2 biggest things I stand for. But you're going to find a multitude of causes why people are here. It's all encompassing because it's a vicious cycle. You take like money problems, economics problems, create social problems. Social problems in turn create political problems. And if they're all united on one side against us, who can we turn to? Peaceful protests is the last thing we got. We can't elect officials to represent us. They're all bought out.
Now, you do realize there are many people who aren't agreeing with you and are upset because look at all these officers and it's costing taxpayers millions of dollars.
First off, these officers, they're just muscle. They're not told to think. Same thing they told us in the military. We were over there. Most of us don't agree with the war, but we didn't have a place to choose. Same thing with the officers on a local level. And for people who don't agree with us, go serve in a war. Go defend the oil company, like their position in Iraq, instead of shooting at children at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I feel people who question us are ill-informed, and they refuse to believe us. But honestly, you can hide in your fancy house or drive your fancy car for so long, but what's going through Congress right now is called the National Defense Authorization Act. It's allowing the military to pursue American individuals and detain them without habeas corpus or any reason. So they can hide in their fancy little house, but it's only buying them time because nobody's safe from us. Nobody's safe from us.
So what happens now when they come in here and say, you gotta move, you gotta move, you gotta move, or else they start shooting the rubber bullets or the gas? What are you gonna do?
Constitution means more to me than a personal record. I won't spend 3 or 4 nights for standing for what I believe in. It's a small price to pay because if we don't take a stand, then our grandchildren will be enslaved by debt, by wars for profit, by political pandering. They have no say. This is the last avenue of expression that we have. We can't vote people in. We are the change we've been waiting for since 2008. When are we going to wait for change? When? So I feel this is a small price to pay for. And half these cops, they don't want to be here. A lot of my friends are cops from the military. They're like, man, we believe in you guys. We totally support you guys, I got friends in local politics, I myself, I'm not a bum. Like, I'm becoming an aerospace engineer, college paid for by scholarship GI Bill. So it tells you we got people of all types backing up this movement. People got to climb off the TV and educate themselves and come down and see what we stand for. Because, of course, they're going to label us hippies, but look at us. Half of us are business owners. Half of us are college students in debt. Half of us are military vets. We know what we're talking about. Don't believe what you hear because media is a dangerous thing. And who do you think media answers up to? The same corporations that are instituting this BS,
I'm allowing you to give your side here.
Oh, definitely. Thank you. No, I agree. That's the thing. Like, if anything, they should take their forces and go down to Wall Street, go down to financial district, because that's the people who are really guilty, not a bunch of peaceful protesters exercising their First Amendment rights. That's what's right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to us. There you heard it from him.
All right,
Tony?
Gina.
Parts of the National Defense Authorization Act have been nullified, but too much of it is still active. It is of utmost importance that we all understand and defend the Constitution. We must defend freedom of speech. We must defend the right to protest. Freedom is the freedom to speak the truth, to defend others, to provide not only for ourselves, but for those we care about.